Welcome to the ACC Panic Room alongside Lauren Brownlow. I'm Joe Ovies, and man, it was just not a good night for anybody local. I mean, I got COVID. Cool. You fell and split your lip and your nose.
That's a couple of days ago, but yeah.
You want to do a reveal there? You want to show people?
I guess.
It's up to you. You don't want to.
Like Darth Vader style or what? I don't know. Did I do it right? Did I do the Star Wars right?
Yes. Credit to you.
It was much worse before. I don't know if it's good or bad.
Yeah. Well, look, can your son at least see you and not go, ooh?
No, if I kiss him, he says, "Mommy, not with that side."
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Duke's dealing with an injury to Trevor Keels, which is crucial to what Duke wants to do this season. And Hubert Davis still has to talk about effort and want to for his Tar Heel squad. Man, it's been a great 24 to 36 hours, hasn't it?
Oh, yeah. And I think it was Sean Crest who dug up the stat that it's the first time Duke and Carolina have lost in the same state on the same day. Not North Carolina, obviously, since 1970.
Oh, wow.
It's pretty wild. And who knew it would be Florida? Maybe that's a basketball state now.
Miami.
They're not good at football anymore.
Miami and Florida State are basketball schools now, and Mac Brown's got Carolina as a football school, although they have to go ahead and get that done. Let's actually start with the more alarming game. The loss for Duke at Florida State, given the context of the Trevor Keels calf injury and the fact that they almost pulled this out in overtime. I'm not too wrapped in that. It's the Carolina game that was embarrassing. I really don't know how else to put what happened at Miami.
I don't want to go like I told you so energy here, but do you remember after the Kentucky game that I said, I think this is deeper than just yes, you have bad performances or whatever, but I think it goes deeper than that.
Yeah.
Well, I think it goes deeper than that.
Yeah, I'm now with you on this because earlier in the week I had tweeted out how is North Carolina not ranked? It's like they've held serve against the bad teams, and to me, I thought this week, given the matchups with a trip to Miami and then a trip to Wake Forest, that this would be the week where Carolina would kind of prove it, kind of turn the corner, right? I mean, how many more times can you say, oh well, we really got to put the effort in there, or you can't take games lightly. You said all the right things. Now it's just a matter of actually doing it. So I thought this would be the beginning of it. And it's not that they even lost. It's the fact that Carolina on the road or against good teams continues to show you that things will unravel quickly. I don't know what the deeper problems are, but it's not lost on me that Roy Williams couldn't get through this team, and that was a big reason, part of his retirement, bigger picture stuff, but he talked specifically about how he was unable to get through this team. And Hubert Davis is finding this out as well. I don't think it's a Hubert Davis problem. I think it's a roster problem because it's not like he isn't telling them what they need to do. At some point, they're going to have to want to do it, and last night showed you they just don't, and that's alarming.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree that Hubert is not the issue here, right?
Yeah.
I guess there are certain decisions I find interesting, but they're the types of decisions Roy Williams was making last year too. So this isn't me singling it out. Caleb Love looked out of it yesterday.
Yeah.
And I know you don't have Anthony Harris, so there's not a lot, but I mean, Leaky Black's played point guard before. There are other guys who can handle the ball in that roster if he's not playing well. I did find it interesting that he played as long as he did, and he didn't score from the 8-minute mark of the first half. Again, he did not score again. So that was interesting to me. And I think, I kind of interpreted last night as subtle of a kind of call out of, maybe multiple guys, but certainly Armando Bacot, I thought it seemed like. And I think it was interesting that he wasn't in post game. He usually is. Mm-hmm. Even win or lose, that's usually who's there. He looked frustrated. He looked frustrated last night from almost the jump. And I think the energy he had early on with the way Miami was playing him trickled down. And I think some of that by Hubert was an attempt to just be look, I know that they don't always follow you, but we got to have your leadership or else we're doomed. Or else we're going to lose by 30, somebody's got to step up and say enough, whether it's, And maybe Caleb is one of those guys too. I mean, he's a sophomore now. Like, he's the point guard. It's not like he can't go in there and say this is unacceptable.
Yeah.
He's called himself out before. Armando has too. They've called out people, I think. And I wonder if Armando wasn't just like, yeah, I could come to post game, but what new do you want me to say?
Yeah, I think that I was just about to say, and yeah. I saw this in the quotes last night. There's nothing new to say. I mean, even Hubert Davis was in that position as well. And that's why I thought last night was easily the most embarrassing performance by the Tar Heels. It's one thing when it happens against Tennessee, right? Early in the year, you're learning. It's all about the process.
It's right after you lost to Purdue. I didn't take much out of that.
I didn't take much out of that.
Kentucky was different for me because of the way they looked during the game, not any other reason.
Sure.
Like, Kentucky looked significantly tougher. They were way faster to loose balls. And it looked like when Kentucky came out and made it clear they were going to hit them in the mouth defensively, Carolina was like, we're good here.
To me, I think Hubert went into classic dad mode where he's just like, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed. And he used disappointed several times last night in the post game. And he has every right to be disappointed on this one. Because, you talk about there's something deeper with this particular squad, and we don't know what the hell's going on behind the scenes. We're not trying to pretend like we know what the hell's going on.
No, I have no idea.
Behind the scenes. But I think we can all agree that the vibes are off, right?
Yeah, I think even, Roy Williams teams took some losses like this. I'm not saying they didn't. The one thing I would say is different this year is that, like, Roy's teams, I feel like, would get down by a lot and then kind of, like, come back and maybe make it a little interesting, but then fall back down and still lose by, like, 20-ish, 17, whatever.
Yeah, I thought we saw that in the Notre Dame loss last week.
Yeah, it was more like that. Exactly.
I thought that was because I had asked this question to Giglio last week as to whether or not I was being soft on the Tar Heels for the way that they had not let that game unravel the way that we had seen against Kentucky or the way that we had seen against Tennessee, right? That they actually climbed back into it. They steadied it.
Yeah,
they
had a chance
defense,
to win. Yeah.
And they had a chance to win, right? So I thought, not moral victory it up, but I was like, all right, you know what? At least there's a little progress there, right? Like, you're learning. This isn't going to happen again. But it ended up happening again. And unfortunately for Hubert Davis, it's almost like we're in this weird everybody, you mentioned Roy Williams having games like this. Shout out to Tate Frazier. I like Tate. I really do, with him and Titus. But, he'll tweet out stuff like, never thought I'd see Carolina lose by 30 in an ACC game.
That's not necessarily a shot at Hubert.
Yeah, but
I don't think I ever thought I'd see that either.
But it's happened, though. It's happened. What, are we all 9 years old? Are we just going to forget what happened, 10 years ago at Florida State? Are we going to forget what happened at Duke? So it's like this idea that it's somehow a Hubert issue. My point is, these things have happened.
I know. And again, I'm not trying to say that the issues are new.
Yeah.
I am trying to say that what you referenced happened 10 years ago and on a team that probably could have gone to the Final Four by the end of the year. Do we think this team is that?
No, this team is not a tournament team right now.
And that team in particular had shown toughness before that and showed it after. And what did Florida State shoot in that game? Like 60-some% or something like that?
Something ridiculous, right?
That's the thing. Miami ended up shooting like 47% or something like that. They shot well in the first half, but they ended up shooting like 44%. Carolina shot like 22. Carolina's defense was still terrible for the parts of the game that it mattered. It wasn't like Miami just got hot and that's it. Carolina was a sieve.
My problem is that there seems to be a foregone conclusion with Hubert Davis as the head coach.
Oh, no. Yeah.
And
I don't agree with
issues,
that part. Yeah.
And these issues are only solidifying those who never wanted Hubert Davis in the first place.
Right.
And I don't think that's fair to Hubert Davis.
It's not. It isn't. I agree.
And all you got to do, it's one thing to see Carolina fans, tweet through it and talk about firing Roy Williams, or we got to move on from Roy Williams. Let's not act like this is a new thing. It's another when it's Hubert Davis, because I do think there's an element of, we didn't want him to be the coach anyway. We wanted Wes Miller to be the coach. We wanted, Mark Few to be the coach, or why didn't they go after Jay Wright? That kind of stuff. It's Carolina basketball.
Here's the more interesting question to me that has very little to do with whether or not Hubert can coach.
Yeah.
If things were going in a direction culturally or whatever you want to say there that was bad?
Mm-hmm.
Was continuity good? And I don't know the answer to that. You know what I mean?
Probably not. Probably not.
That's the only thing. Like, Hubert could be a great coach. We wouldn't know because these guys just, like, it feels like half the time just get out there and they're like, okay, Sam Wardenberg's hitting threes. We don't feel like, going out.
And I think that gets back to the original start of this conversation as to what issues you're seeing with this roster. We saw similar issues with Roy Williams last year. And
that's kind of what I'm saying, though.
So, if a Hall of Fame basketball coach and Roy Williams couldn't get through to this particular group, and there's all sorts of conversations about the changing nature of players today, and coaches having a very difficult time trying to get through to them to see what they actually care about and everything else. Then Hubert Davis was going to find himself in this position as well. And to me, it's like let's just wait till he gets his guys in there and see what kind of direction he goes in. Now,
I'm not going to make any judgments on him right now, but I just think this is me, like, not trying to go all just asking questions, but it is a question that I literally thought of as we were doing this. Like, it's like, okay, so I do agree that these things were happening some under Roy. And if we think it was a cultural thing, like, well, maybe they needed to blow it up. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that either. And who knows how things are going to go for Duke next year when Mike Krzyzewski is not the coach and it's John Shire. I think they're going to have a smoother transition, but that's another conversation for another day. We'll see what happens. Now, as far as Duke is concerned, Trevor Keels going out with a calf injury. They didn't have him for the last 15 minutes of that game. I like the way that Duke bounced back. I think going to Florida State has always been a traditionally difficult place to play for Duke. They've got the size to be physical with a bigger Duke team, as we've seen. Losing in overtime on the road isn't that big of a deal unless you wanted to blow it up and look at this team on the road in true road games and see how they've been. I'll go with the typical Mike Krzyzewski attitude of these games simply build and they're learning experiences for a young group, and that, you'll judge this team a little bit more in February, obviously, than you are going to do right now. But I did like the way they fought back in that game.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, like, Florida State was getting a little tight there down the stretch.
Yeah.
And I just, and it seemed, but I was impressed. Like, when it counted, Florida State just kept having an answer. I kept expecting them to just, like, miss, at a certain point, because it wasn't like they were running great offensive sets against that Duke zone. I think that really kind of confused them for a little bit, confused Florida State. And it was a good adjustment by Duke, but at the end of the day, like, Florida State just kind of made more plays. I mean, not to be cliche, like, Florida State made more plays than we did, but it is just kind of what happened. I mean, every time I thought Duke could that's the common denominator, honestly, with Duke's ACC losses for me, is like, they get, every time you think Duke has delivered that, like, typical Duke kill shot to an opponent, and you're like, okay, that's it. Like, they've taken the lead here. It's demoralizing. The opponent's not playing well. Like, that's going to be it. The opponent in both cases has found a way to kind of make one more play. And so, I mean, I don't take a whole lot away from it. I know in post game there was a lot made about the fact that Wendell Moore took the shot, I guess, instead of Banchero.
Instead of Banchero, who had been feasted. So,
I mean,
that's a problem Duke is
the real issue is he went like 10 minutes of game action or more without taking a shot. That's more important, I think, than the last shot. But.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. That's going to wrap it up for this edition of the ACC Panic Room. Hopefully we won't have any more disasters. We'll see you this weekend.